Okay, good afternoon. Welcome. So this is a ceremony we will hand over our non-state actors call to action. So facing intertwined crisis of climate change, biodiversity loss, inequity, and unsustainable development, more and more non-state actors are taking our joint actions and also advocate together. So we all realize the catastrophic decline of biodiversity is not just an environmental issue. It impacts all walks of our life, our societies, our economies, and our health. Therefore, this is the matter for all of us. We're here at a critical moment where government parties are negotiating a global biodiversity framework that's going to impact our future of decades to come. So this is a time for us to think about how can we urge the parties to agree on an agreement to provide us a future where it's a nature positive and equitable future. So we need to work together. Today, we will hear speakers from non-state actors, not only the environmental organizations, but also faith organizations, development organizations, youth, indigenous peoples, and also business communities to share why they think the action is important from their community's point of view and what are key messages they will give to the negotiators to bring on the negotiation room and the negotiation table. So we will have this ceremony. We'll start it with our Director General of WWF International, Worldwide Fund for Nature International, Mr. Marco Lambertini, to give our introduction remarks. We will later to share this call to action to the CBD Secretariat to bring us to the parties. So the floor is yours, Marco.
Lynn, thank you very much. Thank you everybody here physically with us. Thank you to the people that are connected online. Very briefly, I just want to actually first of all recognize something that I think has been an extraordinary and very significant development in the last perhaps few years. First of all is that the overwhelming evidence of our impact on the natural world. And the fact that science has never been clearer and the awareness of that impact has never been greater. But perhaps more importantly, the fact that the understanding of the consequences that this impact is having not only on the natural world, not only on the biodiversity that we have the moral duty to coexist with, but also, as Lynn just said, on our lives in so many different ways. So nature conservation increasingly is not only an ethical, a moral, or ecological issue. It is an economic issue, it is a development issue, it is a justice issue because most vulnerable populations are suffering the most, and it is an intergenerational justice issue because we are leaving our children a very difficult legacy. So this is an exciting, if you like, cultural development that is laying the foundation for exactly what we are going to present today. A strong convergence of the environmental agenda, the humanitarian agenda, the human development agenda. And today, this is signified by over 300 different organizations from all sectors in society: environment, human development, humanitarian, faith, youth, business platforms, indigenous people, women rights organizations, human rights, more in general organizations. It is an incredible diversity that signifies exactly the convergence of agenda, and it's super exciting. And all of us, all these 300 organizations representing so many more million, tens of millions, hundreds of millions perhaps of people across society, are actually calling governments to action in order to agree on a strong global biodiversity framework able to deliver a global goal for nature, a global vision for nature, which is nature positive. In simple words, more nature by the end of the decade than we have today. Through conservation, through restoration, through an agenda of equitable sharing of resources, because this is not only possible, not only what the science is telling us needs to be done, it is necessary and it is the only option we have to lay the foundation for an equitable, prosperous future for us and of course for all life on Earth. So it's extremely exciting to be here today, and I'm very thankful to all the organizations that has joined this call, and WBF is very proud to be part of it as well. So, strong call for action. We need a global biodiversity framework that leads to a nature-positive future through a strong mission that codifies that common direction that we're missing for biodiversity, and hand in hand with the one that we already have on climate, will deliver a safe future for humanity. Thank you very much again for being here, and Lynn, back to you.
Thank you, Marco, for the inspiring and also hopeful message, because that's what we need. Now I would like to invite Eva Tabi. She is the Chief Executive Officer of Business for Nature Coalition. And then we see more and more business are coming, taking care of, caring about nature and take action on the nature positive movement. And so Business for Nature representing the business community, and in the context of what really nature means for business, I'd like to hear, Eva, from you to say why the Business for Nature community are joining the call to action, and what are the key messages you would like to give to the CBD negotiators.
Thank you so much, Lynn. It's really a privilege and a pleasure to be here. Nature is going up the business agenda. We know that hundreds, if not thousands, of companies are making commitments, taking action. We know that over 1,000 companies are urging governments now to adopt policies to reverse nature loss in this decade. There are more than 35 companies here in Geneva to engage in the CBD process. But let's not kid ourselves. It's not enough. The business action currently is not enough. We need to scale and speed up. And how are we going to do that? Policy ambition will be one of the strongest drivers and levers to encourage even more business action on the ground. The question companies come to us now and say is, well, what is the 1.5 degree equivalent for nature? And that's where the Global Biodiversity Framework comes in setting that stage, which will then provide the political certainty for companies to quickly invest, innovate, and shift their business models. Because what we're talking about is a complete transformation of the way we all have shared accountability for our shared home. So in terms of our priorities, in fact, we have 3 priorities coming into these meetings in Geneva. Number 1 is on the mission. Please do not underestimate the importance of a unifying mission that all parts of society can rally behind, of saying halting and reversing nature loss by 2030 for a nature-positive economy is a really compelling direction for business to then work towards. The second priority is on Target 15, which focuses on business action. There again, we understand that Target 15, in a way, is a hook for companies, but businesses should be actors of positive change in implementing the whole Global Biodiversity Framework, not just Target 15. But we're focusing on calling for mandatory assessment and disclosure from all companies, because that information is critical not only for governments, but for investors, for consumers, for suppliers, and across the value chain. And our third priority is on Target 18, on the subsidies. We need to reform, redirect, repurpose, and eliminate all environmentally harmful subsidies. We know these account for $1.8 trillion a year. That is money in the system that could be redirected and must be redirected to encourage nature-positive action. So those are our 3 priorities, and we are delighted to support this call to action and bring that leading business voice side by side with all the other important and equally, and if not more important, parts of society. So thank you so much, Lynn.
Thank you, Eva. We need a nature-positive mission. We need business to take action. We need to really eliminate harmful subsidies and repurpose them for the nature-positive actions. Thank you, Eva. Now we'd like to invite Mr. Ramal Rai. Is indigenous knowledge and the People Network Society for Wetland Biodiversity Conservation in Nepal, and also Society for Wetland Biodiversity from Nepal. So, Ramal, I'd like to also, we noticed that indigenous people have a critical role to play in conserve our nature, but also they have an equal critical role to play in the decision making. So we're in this decision making moment, we need also secure their rights for conserving, their rights for managing the nature, and equal participation. So I'd like to hear from you, Ramal, in the 2 minutes, why are indigenous peoples are joining the call to action? What are the key messages you would like to give to the negotiators of the Global Biodiversity Framework? Ramal.
Thank you very much. Indigenous peoples and local community need to support the call of action because it says the human from indigenous peoples ensure the rights and the rights of the defenders, because the defenders, many of parts area, the IPLC and women's and youth are facing a lot of problem in their home country. Also, it says the equal participation and equity, and this call for action is all supported by governments and other organizations and indigenous people. So it is very strong document, and it's support and to use this one. For the keeper question, IPLC has a diverse value system. The value system such as is the cultural, spiritual, and linguistic values with the associated nature, land, waters, and territories, and their resources. So that need to be in the human rights based approach to the global GBF. And that's very important for us to secure and continue our cultural survival and transport to the young peoples. We have our own knowledge system. So the science and knowledge and technology is very important for the conservation and sustainable use of the biodiversity that need to be recognized and respect on the GBF process. That we are looking forward to continue for our human rights secure and respected. In regards, we have the customary system and customary practices and customary laws. That are very important for us to secure, to protect the nature and biodiversity. Nature is very, to say this, sick and very spiritually we respect the nature. We are seeing in the different areas the nature, Mother Nature, are getting sick. So we need to protect, we need to cope and spiritually to bring back to life. That's for not for only us. That's for all the humanity. So that's the some key points. So we want to reflect in GBFs. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ramal. We need to recognize the IPLC's role in conservation, also secure their equal participation in decision making. Thank you, Ramal. Now I would like to invite Alexandra Masako to come to the podium. Over the past 2 years, we see increasing number of faith-based organizations advocating biodiversity and a nature-positive world. And just recently, there are 28 faith-based organizations drafted and submitted their responses, multi-faith responses to the GBF. So I'd like to really hear from you as well, Alexandra, why you think faith community are joining the call to action, and what is the key messages that you like to give to the parties negotiating here?
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. So we're very happy that these faith organizations that really represent major religious traditions across the world have joined together to really support this call to action, because our religious and spiritual traditions really compel us to care for creation, to care for nature, of which we really understand ourselves to be part of, with love, respect, and really reverence. So that's really driving us to support this call to action. Of course, as many, we also really grieve at the overuse of natural resources and the disruptions of ecosystems. And we really believe in the power of spiritual wisdom and scientific truth. So we really joined the call to action. Now for the key messages that came out of the multi-faith response, as you mentioned. So the first one is that the framework can really reflect the worldviews that are grounded in interconnectedness, interdependence, relationship, really. The second point is to have stronger ambition, so that really relates in general to all the targets. The third point, we feel there is insufficient mention of the interconnected issues, so climate change, pollution and waste, loss of habitat, pandemics. The fourth point is that it's really important that the framework can ensure a human rights-based approach, and we really stand in solidarity with the indigenous peoples and local communities, the women voices and the youth voices especially. We really hope also that the targets will be used in a smart way to provide an incentive for just transition, so that we can really move from a system of extraction and production to a just transition. And finally, our last point relates to the monitoring. So we really hope that the monitoring framework will be strong and that it will be robust and detailed, so that then states can really use that and implement in their national action. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alexandra. Interconnected crises need collective action, and from different walks of life. So the multi-faith group just proved that. The future is ours, but the future is more theirs, youth. So let's hear why youth. So Sweta on the stage, nice to see you in person. We met online before. She's the steering committee member of Global Youth Biodiversity Network, known as GBF. So Sweta, we are witnessing rapid growth in the youth movement on nature positive advocating. And then can you also answer same questions? Why you think youth join the call to action? What are the key messages you like to give to the negotiators here?
Thank you so much. So I would like to say that young people are quite clear. We have the clarity that the climate crisis and the biodiversity crisis that we are facing today did not start with the Industrial Revolution. We know that it started with colonialism, racism, casteism, and all the other isms. And I think today's call to action is a good step at addressing rights-based approaches, because that is one of the root causes of biodiversity loss. I also think we should look at transformative education, and as Mark already mentioned, intergenerational equity, because these are also key priorities for young people. We also wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about some of the actions that we need to take in this meeting as we go forward. As we reminded everybody the first day of this meeting through our actions right here in this plenary, that we can no longer accept any more empty promises or global commitments that will be misused for corporate takeover and greenwashing. As young people, we want to remind you that net approaches can sometimes be misused to cover biodiversity offsets and do not look at addressing the root causes of biodiversity loss. So we need people to also be careful about such greenwashing that could exist in the world as we go forward with this call to action. The last thing that I would also like to say is that while this call to action talks about 30%, we should not forget the rest of the 70% out there. We need to actually think about 100% of sustainable living and 100% of living in harmony with nature. Because I know 100% sounds like a scary task, but that is what we need for transformative change. As Ibis calls it, we need the whole of society to transform it the way it works and it functions. And that means all of our planet, the 100% of all of us, need to create this transformative change together. And I hope this call to action could be a pathway and a step towards creating that transformative pathway and transformative change together. Thank you.
Thank you, Sweta. Yes, we need our whole 100% planet to be protect, sustainably managed. So Sweta, do keep challenging us, because the decision made, you and the generation after you will be the ones living with it. So let's all work together on that. Now I would like to invite welcome the co-chair of the Open-Ended Working Group negotiating the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework, Francis Ogwal, to join the stage, share with us in a few sentences of a few minutes to talk about what is the negotiation process and how you see the meaning of call to action to the negotiating outcome. Francis, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Lynn, and thank you, everybody. First, to say that we are talking about biodiversity because it benefits us all. If indeed biodiversity was not of value to us, I don't think we would be spending all this energy on biodiversity. So it is good that we are beginning to realize that what is sustaining us, we need to do something about it for us to continue to exist. Having said that, I have to say that this process is a party-led process. It began way back in January 2019, and we could not finish it in October 2020 because of the pandemic. So the day that we are here, we are still at the early stages. There's progress being made, but I think during the course of the week, this week and next week, we shall be seeing how the discussions and the negotiations are going. Now, something I want to say about this framework, that it is a framework for all. And so all of us, from individual to non-state actors, to governments, to every person on this planet, entity, has to contribute to implementing the framework when it is adopted. We are now talking about it, discussing it. Time will come, it will be adopted, and that will just be the start of a difficult journey. Because once it is adopted, is it going to lie somewhere in our shelves and just become another piece of paper, or is it going to be implemented? So implementation is going to be critical for the next generation to judge whether we only went around in meetings and did nothing when it came to actually action, as you are calling it here. So the call to action is for everyone, since the framework is for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Francis, for that encouraging and also challenging us to say this is a framework for all of us, but actually the outcome of the decision have impact to all life on Earth. Thank you. So we hear the speakers sharing their view while they join and the key messages. Now I'd like to invite Jyoti Philip to come on stage. She is the Director of Implementation and Support Division at the Secretariat of CBD, and she can tell us what she thinks about the meaning of the call to action to the work that CBD Secretariat is leading and coordinating. Jyoti,
thanks so much, Lynn. And I was thinking that when all of you speakers were speaking, you were actually talking about the Global Biodiversity Framework, and I am so thrilled that Francis ended with implementation. That's my job in the CBD Secretariat. I lead the work on implementation. So all of your work to help us, once we have adopted the Global Biodiversity Framework, will be of absolutely essential. It will be absolutely essential to the work of the Global Biodiversity Framework. So we are very, very thrilled that you have done this call for action. All of you have joined. You may recall in Sharm el-Sheikh, the parties actually launched a Sharm el-Sheikh to Kunming action agenda, and we want all of you to input your efforts into that so that we have a groundswell and we know what everyone is doing, and we know that all of society is actually participating in not only in the negotiations, but also towards implementation, because I think we need to start pivoting towards implementation now very soon, because I think the major elements that everyone is talking about are there in the framework. Where they're placed, how they will be negotiated is a different thing, but I think everything is really there. And I do want to say that 2020 has been a very, very challenging year for all of us. 2020 was the year that we were faced with by a pandemic. It was the year that we learned the interconnectedness that we're talking about between nature, between humans, between biodiversity. It's the first year that, and Marco and Harvey, and we've been talking about this for so long, it's the first time leaders actually got it, actually got the idea that biodiversity loss is something that needs to be taken care of. We've had so much leadership action since then. And it is a dream for all of us working in biodiversity because it never happened before. So we have realized that there is interconnectedness. We have realized that we have to halt biodiversity loss. We have to reverse it. We have to regenerate biodiversity, as Marco said, nature positive. We hope we can get a global goal but that's up to all of you to provide it to us because we are working as we are. So thank you so much. I encourage you to be ambitious, to be leaders in this field, to go out there and spread the word and get everybody. It is an all of society approach. It is an all of government approach. That is where I think transformation is from the Aichi times. Aichi was not so transformative because it was not all of society, all of government. And now we have you here. So let's go out there and do it together. Thank you.
Thank you, Jyoti. Please stay. So now I'd like to invite Marco to come back to stage to hand over the call to action from non-state actors to Jyoti, representing CBD Secretariat.
So, Jyoti, this is going to be quite a complex process because instead of handing over a pile of signatures or logos, we are going to show something much more exciting.
Nice.
So I'm going to open this straw, and first of all, I'm instructed to take a picture here with you, holding it. Probably enough. And now,
then please
yeah,
go,
now we need
because
to go
it's go
down.
to open it, to
And you need
unscroll
to
it. So
completely
yeah,
open it.
yeah.
So
This
I
way, yeah,
will take it.
slowly, and as you can see the call to action and the signatures, and they go on.
327 organizations.
And I have been told not to break this.
So I think that's probably enough, otherwise you're going to go off this. And if the speakers can actually come behind for a picture of together.
Now I'd like to invite all the speakers coming behind. So that's this as a call to action for all together. Yeah.
Hold it.
I can hear. Okay. I also get.
Everyone's so far away from me.
It's too long, there are not enough people.
Is it good?
Maybe a little bit.
Behind. Let's move one step back. We move one step back.
Is it a dance?
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say this is the largest call for action, more diverse,
Exactly.
ever collected on biodiversity. So it's quite exciting.
And it will go in our museum.
Okay, let me just go back to stage.
Oh, wait.
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 Oh, from this way.
It's a real pro.
This way. Okay.
More.
Oh, one more. Okay.
Thank you.
We go back to stage.
And I have to roll it back.
Now, I don't know.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We urge parties actually negotiating GBF to really listen to the call to action from non-state actors. The clock is ticking and we have no time to waste. So let's put all calls into action now. Thank you.